the original recipe. Now, we need this butter. That's 5 sticks, so let's try to, we may have went heavy enough to where we don't need to. Okay, are we rolling?
You been rolling.
Okay, well, come over here. You do the Merry Christmas, family and friends.
Merry Christmas, family and friends.
Mike and I are going to show you how to make baklava as our Christmas greeting. We've done it for a few years and a lot of people look forward to it. This year we're a little late for various reasons, but hope you will enjoy this video, and we will try not to chat it up and let you watch it, and we'll give you directions as we go through it as well.
We're going to chat it up. We're going to chat it up, all right.
Okay. To get started, I will tell you that there's a couple of things you do ahead of time. I'm learning, you do things in stages, helps a lot. And so last night what I did was cook syrup that we will pour over the hot baklava. And just as a tease, we've got the pan sitting back here that came out just a few minutes ago. And I'm making 2 pans, which this recipe I'll share with you only has the ingredients for 1. And where this recipe came from was a lady at when we went to church in Steekoa, in a little community, and she lived across from the church. Her name was Evelyn Parr, and she was friends with Mike's mom, Faye, and she had a little class one day and taught them how to make it. And of course, I didn't get to go for whatever reason, and Faye and I made it at her house a few times over the holidays, and then I guess I've made it every year since. Last 4 or 5 years, I've had to call my sister-in-law and ask her if she still had the recipe because I'd lost mine, or just couldn't find it, which is more likely. So last night, what I did, of course, like I said, I cooked the syrup, and this is a very simple little thing to do. It takes sugar, water, honey, and get yourself some real honey, not the kind that turns to sugar in 2 weeks that you buy at the grocery store.
Go find you a roadside stand. Somebody's got bees and selling local honey.
Yeah, Mike had bees 2 years ago, and we got 5 or 6 quarts, so that's that honey in this. And when you put your syrup on the boil, you boil it for like 10 minutes, but you cut up some slices of orange. And for this recipe, I would say use 3 or 4 slices. You love that citrus taste in there. And throw in a couple lemon slices. Now, if you like to eat candied fruit, these are great, the oranges. I don't really care for the lemons, but... Oh, sorry, thank you. And cinnamon sticks in your syrup, which I had already taken out. And you do need the sticks. You don't want to use the powdered cinnamon. It doesn't seem to blend as well. I think I've tried that before. And I chopped the nuts last night, and it takes 4 cups of nuts. It will say on the recipe there's different options for nuts. I use all pecans, and I think that's why a lot of people prefer this. We bought it.
Now, is that 4 cups of whole nuts or 4 cups of chopped nuts?
I put it, yeah, 4 cups of, no, 4 cups of nuts. And
chopped
then
nuts.
No, 4 cups of nuts and then chop them is the way I've always.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. 4 cups of whole nuts chopped.
See why we can't cook together? But anyway, you can use different nuts. I don't care for almonds in it at all, and especially not the English walnuts. If I had black walnuts, I might consider using them. I don't like almonds in them.
But okay, go ahead.
Almonds.
I'll tell you a story
English
about
walnuts.
nuts directly, but not right now.
Oh boy. Okay. And don't pay any attention to me using 2 different kinds of chopped nuts, because I chopped part of mine really, really fine for my dad. And I will do half of the recipe for him on one side so he can actually chew it well. And all you put in the nuts after you chop them is sugar, just a little sugar, it'll tell you, some cinnamon, and cloves, powdered cloves, of course.
Now, Gene, your daddy's teeth's about gone, and that's why he can't chew the big chunk.
Yeah, he's 89.
Well, he's 89, but anyway, That's
Just
why he
chop
gets
them fine.
finely chopped nuts and everybody else
Has to
gets
chew
regular
that.
chopped nuts.
That's
Now
exactly
tell them
right.
what that is.
Okay. Well, I'll
Hold them
let,
up so they can see it.
this is called phyllo dough. If you haven't used it, it's just really fine sheets of dough. And Mike says he could make it, but I wouldn't.
You can make it if you're,
Crazy.
crazy.
Go to the grocery store and it's in the freezer section. And be sure you're getting sheets, not the little bitty squares where you can make the little fancy pastries. And it comes in 2 plastic sleeves.
Now
Mine's-
this is something that Mary Berry, or what's the guy's name?
Oh, they may not watch that
They
cooking
know.
show. The English.
The Great British Baking Show,
Yes.
the blonde-haired guy with the blue eye. Anyway, they won't even make this by hand.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
they can, but they said you'd be crazy to.
Mike and I like that show.
Cause it's, what is his name?
He's cute, I don't know, but he's
Jeannie thinks she's a hottie.
Okay, once you get this out, I will tell you that it dries out very fast, and that's why when we would make it back in the older days, we would have 2 people doing it. There's a piece of tape or something on there. But Mike's gonna help me with doing the butter, and that will keep us moving right along and won't slow us down. But all you have to do is put you a damp paper towel over your dough sheets if you think you're going to let them
Starts
dry.
drying out on them.
Yeah.
And you can tell because it'll go to breaking.
And you're gonna get some breaking anyway. It's not gonna matter. I mean, it all will come out in the end, but, and just get it to where it's flat again. And I buttered the pan, ready to go. The dough will stick. And what you wanna do is get about 2 sheets down 3 times to get your base. So you'll have a good solid base. And this,
And what size pan is this?
that is a half sheet.
These are half sheet pans.
I called it a sheet a minute ago, but anyway, a half sheet. And the way this is, it's going to do half of a half sheet, a quarter. And I can done and tell that this dough is going to be a little dry, so I'm going to try and move fast. We may cut the video off in between. Okay, Mike, you do the butter. First pan, we've got butter all over, so maybe this one will go better.
No, it won't.
No, you're slinging it everywhere. This is why we can't cook together most of the time.
Don't mistake butter stain for bodily fluid stain.
Ugh.
She'll make me cut that out a bit.
Yes, I will. But my kids liked this, and I hope, you know, by doing these from time to time, and that's what my intent was to have them for the kids and the grandkids, because Mike would say times like I was cooking, said, would, you know, need to tell the kids how to make that real cream style corn from fresh corn. And so I did that last year. I don't think Mike ever posted it. I try not to look. I don't want him to post things. But anyway, that was the intent, to save it for generations. It's an easy way to do it. Okay, that's enough. Just right on the edge.
All right.
Okay, and we'll go with 2 more, and I'll tell you about these little edges in a second. No licking the fingers. Okay, and then we've got one more time to do it. And I usually press it down to get some of the air out of it. Butter guard. And it calls for 4 sticks of butter. I'm gonna tell you, you might as well melt yourself 5 sticks, because you usually run out. And now we're using plenty of butter, and you could probably go a little lighter, but you just have to get all the sheet covered. And I think the next one's, Mike, if we go a little lighter, it might be good.
Yes, oh great master.
our youngest son and his family's coming down tonight for dinner, and our other son, of course, and his family didn't get to come in this Christmas, and it's easier for us to travel some than it is for them to travel home now with Grace in
Well,
college.
they got jobs. Yeah.
And 3 different jobs and 3 dogs that think they're human.
And a cat.
Well, yeah, Kitty's outside.
But the cat takes care of itself.
Okay. Grace and Janice lived with us 2 different years when Jason was in the Air Force, and we got to spend a lot of time with Grace then, and it's hard when you miss your family and they're not around, but you do the best you can do. Okay, so this will be our 3rd sheet. That's enough butter, honey, I think. We'll start layering the nuts, and what we're going to do is we're going to go nuts on top of this, 2 sheets, nuts, 2 sheets, nuts, till we get about 4 or 5 layers. Now, just do whichever you've got the ingredients for. If you've got more nuts, put another layer on there. There's no science to it. And the one thing about this is whenever you get it in a restaurant, to me, it just tastes stale. I don't know. And I've had people, you know, comment that the same to me when I've given them this. And I wish I had time to do it and felt like doing it all the time. And I'd make, I think one year we made like 4 pans, and it's just not happening this year. Now, while he's doing that, I'm going to start folding these little edges down. Some people will trim these off, but I don't fool with it because those are the good little pieces with all the crunchies on the outside. Doesn't hurt a thing.
Now, if you're lucky and you get a few pieces of this, that means Jeannie thinks highly of you.
Oh, don't say that. I would give everybody I know, well, most everybody I know some, but it's not going to happen. Maybe next year. Now, this is Dad's side, and I'll flag it somehow when I cut it, so I know.
Well, you can tell by looking at the nut. Well, you can't see the nuts on top, can you?
Try to take care of my daddy, don't I, honey?
Yeah.
And you can put some over here. It's not going to matter. I mean, it's just all nuts. Okay, ready for the next one. That was our first time. Now the dough's good. It's not breaking up so much. I'll just fold those little ends down as I go.
Folding the ends down.
I don't know why I just remembered it, but I remember it was my birthday, and it's in December of all times to have a birthday, but I was working late, and when we lived in Fontana, I came walking down the street. It was before we had a kid yet, and we lived on a little dead-end street, and the door was open on the house, and smoke coming out of our house, and I thought the house was on fire. Do you remember that?
I remember when you about set it on fire. I don't remember.
Mine was from oil. No, it was you. You were making me a birthday cake. You were making that lava cake.
Oh, yeah, the lava cake.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
But anyway,
I don't remember smoke coming out of the house.
We had the doors open trying to get rid of it, but I ate it. It was a good cake.
Now, when we first got married, we lived in little. They had names for all the different kinds of houses in Fontana, but we were blessed. I got a job the weekend before we got married that had housing with it, and that was a blessing. But anyway, we lived in this little. When I say 2-bedroom, it was 2-bedroom. It's 3. It had 3 little old bedrooms.
You use that little back one.
Well, yeah, but it was
for a radio room.
Yeah, that's all. But anyway, it was a little teeny house, and it was so cold one winter, and I believe it was the winter we got married. We got married in '76, and it had snowed, and the little house You won't know what a stack heater is, but anyway, it was just electrical resistance heat. And this one had 3 elements in it, and it had 2 switches. You could turn on 1 element or 2 elements at a time, or if you could turn all 3 of them on. But anyway, it was so cold that winter that the drain under the kitchen sink froze.
Was that?
And the old boy that come to thaw it out, it had galvanized pipes. And anyway, they'd take a welder. They had a little welder on a trailer, a little arc welder, and they could hook that arc welder to them pipes and it would thaw them out. But anyway, he had the welder under the floor. It just had
I'll do it. Finish your tale.
It just had a crawl space under it and no insulation much. But he had the welder hooked up under the basement, but he come upstairs to thaw the drain out on the kitchen sink. And anyway, I looked down and his name was Don Moon. But anyway, he worked for maintenance. But anyway, I looked down, his coat was smoking.
It was on fire.
And he caught himself on fire while he's under the basement. I said, Don, your coat's on fire. But anyway.
It was cold.
It was so freaking cold.
Well, for one thing, the little houses didn't have any insulation in them.
Single pane window, you know. They were built as construction housing when they built Fontana Dam, and they weren't supposed to be there any great length of time, but anyway.
I don't know how we got off on Fontana, but oh well. That was about the time.
You were talking about coming home and seeing the house on fire.
I decided
you started it.
It was so cold, I wasn't used to that, and I was like, I'm about ready to go home to Mom and Daddy. Didn't last though, did it? We grew up together, too foolish to know better, didn't we? Married so young.
Well, we won't go into that. Go ahead and put that.
I have to have the other roll.
Pack.
Let us get this other pack open real quick. There's the scissors, butter all over me. So I got down to like 1 sheet left, and I'm gonna just toss it because it's paper. Watch it. See, it just shreds like paper. That's how thin it is, and how fast it will dry out. Okay, here we go. We got our oven set on 350 and it's ready to go in. You want to bake this
Looks
about...
to me like it's sitting on the floor.
That's an old joke between Mike and me. But anyway, if you have, it says 45 minutes. I baked this one about 7 minutes longer. It says 45 to an hour, but really 45 does
You
it.
better check it about 45,
Yeah,
because that just
it
a
does.
frazzed dark.
Yeah, just a tad dark, but
You
it'll
ready?
be fine. And the recipe calls for salted butter. Don't try to use the unsalted butter. Now, unless you're just avoiding salt altogether for health reasons, because the salt, it needs a little salt to make this really good.
But I was reading how to make unsalted taste like salted, and the information on the internet says unsalted is generally fresher butter. So what you can do is add 1 teaspoon of salt to the pound, which is 4 sticks. So there's a workaround if you've just got unsalted.
Which we actually did because Sam's was out of everything.
And for us, Sam's is an hour's drive, and I like to order from them because they'll bring it right to the door, but they won't bring anything cold, so we had to go up there.
I got the nuts at Sam's. This was a 2-pound bag, and this actually's done two full recipes.
1 bag.
Yep.
And those are prime grade pecans, I'll tell you, they're really nice. And I got to looking, they had them chopped, but they were more chopped per ounce. And if you got you a food processor, you can chop them in just a second.
Oh yeah, I used to do this by hand. How in the world I couldn't do it now, I used to do it all by hand. I would start chopping 2 days before.
We used to do a lot of things by hand.
Watch out for little pieces of hull. You never know, and they're not fun to chomp down on.
And if you bust a tooth, I can tell you, you're in to spend some money.
Doctor bills and dental bills. That's what you get to look forward to. We have so much to be thankful for, don't we, Mike? I mean,
Yeah, Jeannie, we
It was
do.
so-
We've
when
been
it was
blessed.
so cold last night, and water freezing on everybody, and it just, yeah, I can't stand to think about people being out in it. It's just. Now, I believe I'm gonna have to melt a little bit more butter because Mike's at the bottom of the thing, and we'll cut this off. I'll melt just a little more butter, and we'll put this top layer on and cut it, and that should be it.
Just let the camera go while we cut.
I think I only have one more thing of nuts anyway. Golly, Ben, that uses a lot of butter.
Well, you said that's what made it good. I do have the cream style corn video somewhere, and I've got one on canning beans, but that's kind of the wrong time of year. Anyway, if you like these videos with Jeannie, show her some love.
No, show Mike some love. He makes me do them.
I don't make you do anything except the
Well.
golden mushroom soup.
That was when we had a quarter. And that may have been all that was in the cabinet.
No, I wanted you to broaden your.
Because I said I wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't do it now. Well, yes I would if I was hungry.
Well, you wasn't hungry. I just
This
wanted you
part's
to try
getting cut
something
out.
to eat. Huh?
Okay, we're back to this last layer, and I'm going to put the final amount of nuts that I have left, and this will be plenty. There's not, it'll tell you like 5 tablespoons and evenly do it, but people that cook a lot, they don't have to stop and measure all this stuff.
Well, if you're baking with something that actually, but we're not actually baking anything.
Now, at the end, what we're going to do is do 2 sheets butter and do that 3 times, and then I'm going to cut it. So we're
Well, you're gonna make.
Okay, we're back with the last of the butter, and I've got 2 sheets on here, and we'll put 4 more and then call it good. Now, if you want to go a little more, if you've got extra butter, just whatever makes you happy, because like I say, I don't think you can do it wrong. Oh, that's plenty. I think this is why we use extra butter.
You said you couldn't do it wrong.
You can't. I usually, when this comes out of the oven and we pour the syrup on it, let it sit, about 3 hours soaking up that syrup before you try to move it to a container, an airtight container, and then put it in the refrigerator. But it's really better the second day. I mean, you can eat it, but fresh out of the pan, but it just doesn't get better until it soaks up all that syrup. Now we've got to have enough butter to do this one more time, so you can use half of that. And that's it. That's all we got. Should have bought 2 big things of butter.
Well, there's more in the freezer, ain't there?
No, I didn't put any in the freezer.
Alright, so we gotta go half on this.
Mm-hmm. And there'll be a few sheets left over maybe, but this pretty much come out perfect. Sometimes it's hard to find this phyllo dough around Christmas. But if you find it, 2 or 3 months before, just put it in the freezer. But you definitely want it all thawed out before you start trying to work with it. I keep saying I'm going to make one of those nice broccoli cheese puff pastries with this stuff.
That's called, what is it? That's a Greek.
But I haven't done it, as you can see. We're making baklava.
Alright, me or her, neither one is Greek.
No, but I like
But we
Greek
can't,
food.
yeah.
Love olives.
All right.
Okay, this will be it. I think I hear the youngest son coming down. I hear the dog barking. What movie was it we watched yesterday, Mike, and had such a good time? Home Alone, 1 and 2.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Up in Smoke.
The comedian over here. Okay, let's get the air out. Now, when you start to cut it, I prefer using a serrated knife. It just works best for me. If you've got whatever works for you. Get me to move it around. I told Mike, I said, of course our kids know how to do that, but do some sausage balls. I don't know why at Christmas we always have sausage balls, and that just takes like 10 minutes. And you can have them for breakfast in the mornings when you don't want to have to cook. I think you've got a half a stick of butter on your shirt. Okay, now get the corners for me good, and there's a dry place. You just want to make sure it's all covered good. Lots of times when you get it in a restaurant, it'll be cut into triangles, and you can do that if you want to. But to me, that's just too much trouble. And
Yes, but the syrup soaks in better, remember? We had that discussion on the last pan.
yeah, so
And it just looks classier.
yeah, it's such tiny pieces though.
Well,
So I will
you
do
can't
it.
eat a lot.
I'll do it this way for now. You're dropping butter.
Okay, you done with that?
Done with that. Okay, I'm going to use the center of this half sheet pan where we join that together as my mark. And you don't have to go all the way, go to the bottom of the pan, but you're going to have to score this again when you get it out of the oven. And I'm going to do 1, 2 marks so I can get 3 rows on each side of that center. And when you take it out of the oven after it cools and that syrup's starting to soak in, you will be able to cut it without it kind of pulling apart. Maybe next Christmas things will be not as hectic and we can... My dad's been sick, so that threw us off kilter. So anyway, maybe next year we can make 5 or 6 pans and visit everybody.
Ha ha ha!
Let's see, I'm gonna do, still get 2 rows. I'll go down the center this way. Mike says the more cuts, the more syrup gets in there, and he's probably right. Now this is what aggravates me, is when you get to this part, that top layer and that butter, you just about have to touch it and it starts sticking to your fingers. Even though my fingers are buttery at this point.
James Bond made a movie one time called Butterfinger, didn't he?
I think so. I'll make big
Maybe it
pieces
was
of
Goldfinger.
Mike and his trivia mind, he can remember anything.
Except anything that's important, of which I cannot remember.
I can watch it in 5 minutes.
Like the triangle and let them see how pretty
Okay,
it
I'll
is.
do a triangle out of this big one. You would just, okay, I'm gonna do some diagonal cuts because some of these pieces are big. But if you want to do your triangle, all you gotta do is go again.
No, that's fine, right?
Oh yeah, I'm doing that.
Oh, okay. No, I wouldn't cut them into them little pieces.
Yeah, I thought you were wanting me to
No.
go away a little, sorry.
No, that's a triangle.
Yeah, but I thought you were wanting
No.
those little bitty ones. Okay. And I may leave some of these square. So it's ready to go in the oven, and we'll time it for 45 minutes exactly and take it out because I don't want it to get overdone. And tomorrow, when I go to my dad's house, hopefully I will have some to take down the creek, of course, and share with the neighbors. And my niece, Hannah, she loves it. I taught her how to make it. My sister-in-law, Dolores, she still makes it. I think I mentioned that. And I believe Mike's sister, Sharon, an extra sis I have, if that's, I think she still makes it sometimes. Does she?
I'm sure she does.
Yeah. Everybody in our family likes to cook. Well, almost everybody. That's good.
Okay, I'll do the shameless plug once again.
Oh.
For, like I said, I'm gonna set this timer for 45 minutes. And I don't get no money from these people, but they make good stuff. They're not the cheapest place on time, but now the stuff works. And this is called their extra big and loud timer. And if you have, if you can't hear and you can't see, this works real good. It's easy to set, and if you go subscribe to their email list, they'll send you deals all the time. So if you're looking for a timer, this will count up, down.
So what's the name?
It's ThermoWorks.
Yeah.
Is the company. Just look them up. Like I said, they make really good stuff. I think this thing runs, you can catch it on sale about $24, but I think usually it's about $30-some. But I got 2 of them now because I liked it so good, and they come in real handy. So I'll just show you how easy. There's your 45 minutes and hit start. Throw it back on the refrigerator.
When we take this out of the oven, we'll pop back in here long enough to show you about putting the syrup over it. Your recipe is going to say to let the baklava cool. Mrs. Parr said put it on while the baklava is hot. And that's the way I've always done it. I've never even tried it the other way because it's always worked good for me. So we'll be back in a few.
Oh, wait, I gotta.
You're gonna burn yourself.
Well. Okay, now.
We're back, and we just took this out at 45 minutes, and you can see the pretty golden color. Okay, you can put it down. The other pan I did 5 minutes longer, and I think I like this look better. But I'm just starting to pour the syrup over here real slowly, and just let it take time to drizzle in there. But it will soak it up after you
Tell about the rest of
leave
it
it
saying to let it cook.
sitting hours maybe after it or while it's cooling. The recipe says to let it cool and then pour it on, but Mrs. Parr said to go ahead and just pour it on while it's hot. I don't know what the difference would be, but I've always done it this way and it seems to work perfect for me. So that's all on there, every last drop. So now you just have to be patient for 2 or 3 hours and let it cool.
And honestly, 3 or 4 days, this gets really good.
In the refrigerator.
It takes it a long time to soak that syrup, but once it ever soaks it up, it's...
So making it Christmas Eve is probably not the best idea, but next week if you have plenty of time home from work and your kids are home, make yourself a pan and you will be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did.